Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Real Fear Files. Tonight, we dive into 7 of the most unsettling true Appalachian deepwood horror stories ever shared with our channel. Tales from those who wandered off the beaten path and stepped into corners of the mountains never meant for outsiders. These are not campfire tales or exaggerated myths. They're first-hand accounts from hunters, locals, and wanderers who came forward with experiences too detailed, too consistent, and too chilling to dismiss as imagination. Names, locations, and timelines have been verified wherever possible. In several instances, these encounters line up with missing person reports, forgotten police files, and whispered patterns carried through generations in these hills. In these mountains, you'll hear of a hidden campsite that shouldn't exist, voices echoing memories of the dead, an ancient folk bargain that may have cost a stranger their life, and a cabin that only appears once you are already lost. If you love slow burn, authentic horror drawn from real encounters, nothing cheap or staged, subscribe to Real Fear Files and hit the notification bell so you never miss our next descent into the unknown. After listening, share your own Appalachian encounters or unexplained experiences in the comments below. Your story might be the next one we investigate. Now, dim the lights, settle in, and step quietly with us into the deep woods, where the mountains decide who makes it back. My name's Tommy, and if you ever catch the ridgeline going black all at once, you don't hang around. You don't stop. You don't even fumble for your phone and tell yourself it's just a cloud. Mountains out here don't play by cloud rules. They move in shadows, and sometimes in men. I grew up in a hollow where you could tell whose truck was coming just by the rumble of the engine before it swung around the bend. One church, one gas station, more deer than people. I learned to shoot before I even got fractions straight. By 16, I knew every game trail in a 10-mile circle better than the hallways of my high school. Back then, the woods were just that. Trees, rocks, creeks, and maybe a black bear if you were unlucky, or stupid. My granddad would tell stories about other things living in the timber, things folks used to leave offerings for. I filed them with Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny. I trusted tracks, beer cans, drag marks in the leaves. People were the monsters, I thought, and mostly that was a joke. But jokes can get eaten by the mountain. It waits, watches you laugh, then rips the smile right off your face. It was early October when it happened. The kind of cold air that makes your breath curl up like smoke. Leaves were just starting to bleed red and gold. My buddies, Cole and Rye, came up with the genius idea to camp on the far side of Buckthorn Ridge, well past the end of marked trails. All 18, freshly out of school, broke as hell, and bored enough to chase trouble. We took my truck as far as the logging road allowed, parked by a rusted gate that hadn't shut in years, and hoofed it into the woods. Cheap tents, off-brand flashlights, a cooler full of beer that we hoped would taste better under the dark. Sun dropping low, painting the forest gold, making it look harmless. About an hour in, Cole pointed. "Y'all ever seen that path?" I glanced where he jabbed. Not really a trail, just a faint scrape in the dirt, half hidden under leaves, worn smooth over time. No blazes, no signs, just a hint. "Probably some old hunter's shortcut," I said. "Old hunter's path is where the deer are," Rye said, "and the good spots to camp." We should have kept on the logging cut, headed for the overlook we knew. But boredom and warm beer make fools of men. No one wanted to be the wimp, so we followed. At first it felt normal, quieter than the main trail, no ATVs, no shouting, just our boots crunching and a crow calling somewhere above. The path dropped, then leveled into a hollow that felt wrong. Cooler than it should, like sunlight refused to touch it. And that's when I noticed the ridge line. Up there, jagged against the sky, like teeth. The sun was bleeding red and orange behind it. Then a cloud, or what I thought was a cloud, passed. The whole line went black, left to right, smooth as a brushstroke. A gut-tightening pinch. "Maybe we should camp higher," I said. "Too low, gonna get damp." Cole laughed. "Scared of a little dew, Tommy boy?" I shrugged. Couldn't let them see me spooked. We pressed on. The smell hit next. Not old death. Not rot. Fresh, like iron and wet leather. Blood and something sharper. "Damn," Rye muttered. "Someone's cleaning a deer down here." We stumbled into a clearing, or maybe it stumbled into us. Trees leaned back, underbrush beaten down, tarps strung from trunks, faded camo. 2 green tents sagged near a fire ring blackened with age. And then, the hooks. Thick crossbeam between 2 trees, 6 hooks swinging slightly. Meat hooks. Dried brown on them. I didn't want to look too close. "Jesus," Cole whispered. "Guess we found a hunting camp." But it wasn't just hooks. Polaroids nailed to the trees. Dozens, curling, overlapping. Faces staring from the paper. Men, women, kids. Some grinning, some grim like mugshots. Some dated in pen, others marked with letters. I froze. Recognized one. A girl from a gas station 2 towns over, missing last year. Younger here, different shirt, hair tied back. It was her. "This isn't hunting," I said, voice small. "Maybe someone just collected news pics," Rye said, unsure. "Look at the backgrounds," I snapped. "These weren't printed from papers. Somebody took them themselves." The ridgeline flickered black again, smooth, erasing the last light. Then came the engine, not my truck. Closer, rougher. Pickup grinding over brush. Headlights flicked through the trees, then vanished around a bend. "Shit," Cole hissed. "Hide." We scattered. I flattened behind a sagging tent, digging into damp earth. Cole slipped behind a log. Rye ducked behind the photo tree, right in the center of it all. My heart sank. The truck idled out of sight. Doors slammed. 2, maybe 3 voices, low, rough. Boots crunching. 3 men appeared. Middle-aged, no masks, no costumes. Muddy jeans, hunting jackets, caps pulled down. One with a rifle over his shoulder. The other 2 dragged something from the truck bed. At first I thought it was a deer. Then it moved. A person. Hands tied, feet bound, sack over their head. Struggling. Kicked in the ribs. "Easy now," one said. "You holler, you wake the whole mountain." They hauled the person to the hooks. My fingers dug into the dirt, nails bending. Every instinct screamed, "Run, yell, do something." 3 men, 3 of us. We had nothing. Woods thinner than paper. "Y'all sure nobody followed you?" one asked, voice heavy. "No one," said the first. "Same as always." Ray shifted. Twig snapped. Gun swiveled toward him. "Heads up," rifleman barked. "Come out slow. Hands where I can see 'em." Ray bolted. I remember the rifle crack bouncing off hollow walls. Cole and I ran. No words, no glances back. Branches whipped faces, roots grabbed ankles. Behind us, cursing, more shots. The ridgeline ahead flickered. One moment trees, next a wall of black. 3rd time that day, mountain lid closed. We hit the logging road, lungs burning, legs screaming. Half sliding down slopes, grabbing saplings to keep from smashing our skulls, roots clawing at our boots. Somehow, we stumbled out onto gravel. My truck sat there like it had been waiting for us, engine cold, doors closed. Time felt stretched, like the world had paused while we ran. No one spoke, not a word. Cole leaned against the cab, gulping air, hands shaking. I couldn't even look back. The ridge above us was silent, still, black like the night had crept down from the mountaintop. Every hair on my arms stood straight. The hollow behind us was empty now, or at least it seemed empty. We went straight to the sheriff's office, spilling the story all at once. Hooks, Polaroids, the bound person, the men. Every ugly, horrifying detail. His face tightened with every word. He didn't flinch, didn't curse, didn't even blink too hard. Just stone. He nodded, grabbed a couple deputies, and drove up the logging road first light the next day. He came back with a look that could freeze blood. "Boys," he said, "there's a fire ring, some tarps, trash, nothing else. No hooks, no photos, no truck tracks, nothing." "Are you sure?" I asked. "We saw them. 3 men, guns, a person." He held up a hand. "You boys sure you weren't drinking?" Cole laughed nervously. We were sober, sir." The sheriff didn't smile. "Rye didn't wander off mad and take a different way home?" Ray's parents reported him missing the same day. Truck still in the driveway, dog whining at the door for hours. Days, weeks, nothing. No trace. Just silence, like the mountain had swallowed him whole. The image of Ray bound, the sack over his head, burned itself into my skull. I dream about that hollow every night. In dreams, the clearing is waiting. Polaroids tacked up again, bright curling edges, faces staring at me. New faces, old faces. Sometimes I see my own face, half turned away, watching the others. I try to forget, but the smell comes back first. Iron and blood, wet leather. Leaves pressed into the dirt, stained with red that isn't a deer's. I wake choking, hands soaked in sweat, my legs twitching like I'm still running. When the nightmares get heavy, I drive. Alone. Old logging road, engine idling, staring at the ridge. Most nights, it's just trees against the sky. But twice now, in failing light, it happened again. Smooth darkness creeping across the tree line, blotting out the horizon like a curtain sliding closed. It moves too cleanly, too deliberately to be shadow. Something waits up there. Something knows. I don't go past the gate anymore. Never past the faint trails that disappear into hollows. I don't camp. I don't hike. I don't even glance off the logging road. The maps are my boundary, my safe zone. Sometimes, though, I catch glimpses of them. The men. Not always, but enough to unsettle me. Standing along the ridge, boots dark against the brush, shapes merging with the trees. Watching. Waiting. The forest seems to part for them, like it's trained to let them move unseen. I tried telling friends. Tried to make them believe. Couldn't. "You just saw something in the shadows," they said. "You're remembering wrong." But I remember too much. The hooks. The Polaroids. Ray's muffled screams. The way the rifleman's eyes tracked him through the brush. My chest tightens just thinking about it. Sometimes I drive the road just before sunset, half hoping, half fearing. Engine hum low, headlights cutting through mist that creeps up the hollow. Most times it's normal. The mountain just a mountain, trees against sky. But then, the ridgeline. A shadow moving across it. Smooth, sweeping. Left to right, like someone painting darkness over the world. I don't follow. I never will. can't. My hands grip the wheel tight, knuckles white. I floor the gas until the ridge is behind me. Even when I can't see it anymore, I can feel it watching. Like the trees themselves remember me. I've learned things about those hills, about the men who live in them. They don't need guns to hunt. They use fear, silence, and shadow. They know where you'll step, how you'll breathe. The forest bends to them. And that ridge, it's their tool. The thing that closes the forest behind you so you never leave whole. I tell this not to scare you, not to convince anyone about ghosts or monsters. Those are stories people sell. This is real. Somewhere in those mountains, men use the woods like a curtain, and something helps them pull it shut. If you ever hike into a hollow where the light dies early, if you see a trail that isn't on any map, if the ridgeline suddenly goes black, turn around. Walk back the way you came. Do not stop. Do not look back. I learned the hard way that the mountains don't forgive mistakes, and they don't give warnings twice. What waits in the hollows isn't supernatural. It's worse. Calculated. Patient. Waiting for anyone bold or foolish enough to wander where they don't belong. I still drive that logging road sometimes, just to see, just to check. Even now, years later, the memory of Ray, Cole, and me running through the undergrowth keeps me off the paths. Keeps me within the bounds of what maps and roads declare safe. Because the mountain remembers, and it doesn't forget. And if you ever see the ridgeline go dark all at once, you turn around. You do not go further. Not for curiosity, not for courage, not for anything. That darkness is a warning, and if you ignore it, you might not ever come back.
My sister's voice didn't crawl back to me like a ghost story. It slithered in like a wrong note. First night I caught it, I was perched on the low stone wall that split our family graves from the tree line, running my thumb over her headstone dates. The sun had dumped its last blood behind the ridge, leaving that eerie blue fade creeping down, shadow by shadow. Crickets chirped, a few dogs barked somewhere far off, my mom clinking dishes up in the house on the hill. Safe. Normal noise. Then, sharp and clear, just like she was 3 feet off in the woods, I heard her call my name. Lila! That part was okay. That's what she always said. But the breath after it? Ragged, running, like she was tearing through the trees, stretched in a way that made the air wrong. Lila! Help! My spine froze solid. I didn't move, didn't stand, didn't run, just twisted toward the dark swath of trunks. When it vanished, people whispered about a guy, a truck, a stupid choice. Low voices, pity in their eyes. The sheriff said foul play suspected. News reported a bloody shirt, folded neat, dumped by the logging road. But something didn't click. The dogs never picked up a trail. Tracking hounds sniffed, circled, whined, then kept pulling back toward the trees, like whatever took her hadn't bolted, it had walked. We buried an empty coffin a year later. You're supposed to. Give grief a shape, a place. Her stone sits nearest the trees because she loved the woods. My mom claimed I didn't argue. Truth is, we all knew if anything of her lingered anywhere, it was tangled in those branches. Lila, it whispered again from the hollow, soft now. If you've ever lost someone and your ears betray you with their impossible voice, you'll know this. There's that moment your brain tries to slam the brakes, Wind in the leaves, kids laughing down the road, memories spilling over. And then, the heart, it jumps first, betraying reason. I slid off the stone without realizing I'd meant to. My fingers grazed the cold headstone as I stepped into the grass. Felt like shedding something that could never hold me back. The tree line was maybe 20 steps away. The ground fell off into the hollow, dipping and curling before climbing toward the ridge. We'd played down there for hours as kids, building forts out of deadfall, pretending the creek was a moat. Mom used to yell for us to be back before the blue dark fell, the particular shade you only see in these mountains, when ridges still glow but the hollows are already night. That shade blanketed the woods now. No flashlight. Didn't cross my mind. "Where are you?" my voice squeaked. "Over here," came the answer. "I fell." The words were right, the rhythm off. My sister talked fast, chewing through her own sentences. This voice spaced each syllable like tasting it. I froze at the first oak, pressing my palm to the rough bark, a solid thing in a suddenly unreal place. "Say my middle name," I demanded. Silence, then a quiet laugh. "You're dumb, Mara. Just come help me." My middle name's never Mara. She knew that. She'd use it to tease me, wait for my friends, sing it like a joke, then tackle me laughing while Mom and Dad broke it up. She'd never get it wrong. Not then. The house had gone mute. No dishes, no TV, even the crickets seemed to step back. "I can't see you," I said. "Come closer." Branches rustled down the hollow, not one moving thing but many, shoving leaves and snapping twigs. "Please," the voice whined, pain and effort stitched into it. "I'll get a flashlight," I said. My hands stayed on the oak as I took a step back, the only anchor in this unreal stretch. The tree felt warmer, like it gripped my palm from the other side of thick cloth. I turned, the air snapped, not cold but dense, like surfacing from water. Normal sounds surged back, car engines, Dad's laugh, Mom calling. I walked, careful, back to the house, told myself running was admitting belief. Inside, bills on the kitchen table, coffee between my parents. They looked up. "You were by her stone again," Mom said, flat. "Yeah," I whispered. I almost said more, stopped. If I spoke it, it became real. Dad's jaw tightened. "You're not going in those woods at night alone." I didn't tell them I'd been halfway, didn't tell them the woods answered back. Second night, flashlight in hand, waiting until their TV lull, I went down to her stone, didn't sit, stood. "Lila," the voice purred, eager, "you came back." The beam cut through the trees, showing only trunks and leaves. "Where are you?" "By the old road. Can't move." The road had long washed out. Broken asphalt, moss-covered mile markers. We'd used it as kids, safe zone if a monster chased you past. Walking that far now made my stomach punch itself. "Tell me what we buried with you," I asked. Silence. Then, "Flowers." Yes, but Dad had slipped in something else, a lopsided ceramic frog she'd painted in second grade. The hollow thing didn't know that. "You're not her," I said. My throat burned. Leaves quivered. A sigh moved through the trees, not one direction, many. The voice softened. "You want her? That's enough." For a moment, the flashlight caught a pale shape, wrong, almost hollow, shifting sideways. Not a face, not a tree, not human either. I backed away, calves hitting the stone wall, turned and bolted inside, beam trembling. Should have ended there, didn't. I kept listening. Weeks passed. The voice evolved. Bella, Isabella, chopped, stretched. It started tossing in phrases she'd said only in her room, her phone, the truck, things I ached to hear. It knew, had listened, learned. Last time I answered was late November. Bare trees, brittle air carrying sound farther than logic allows. "Bella, I'm cold." "You're in the ground," I said. It whined. "I'm where you left me, where they folded me, where the dogs stopped." The dogs? Mom never mentioned that. My eyes blurred. The creek gurgled. Owl called. Normal sounds, if you ignored what wasn't. "What do you want?" I asked. Silence. Then, from too close, "Come where I am. They brought me. You can walk." Something moved, not down hollow, but toward the plot. Bare toes, riverstone skin, vanished. I ran. Didn't care about running, didn't care about proof. I locked the door behind me. Mom woke. I lied. Coyote. She told me to stay inside. I promised. Have kept that promise 6 years. Daylight now at her stone. Flowers. A cheap frog once, tucked under. Felt right. Sometimes fog from the ridge slides low, hollow thick with blue dark. From my window, I listen. Thin voice, stretched, sometimes right, sometimes wrong. Lately, it's added phrases only Granddad said. Learning. Bored? Hunting? People ask if she died by the road. I say yes. Safe story. Mine, different. The woods kept her words, heard us call, prayed, learned us, and waits for the next fool who misses someone enough to follow. If that's you, remember, real people don't come back. Something else can, and it can get the words right. Granddad used to say, "The roots know more names than the headstones ever will." He'd chuckle, but not really. I didn't get it until I went poking under the laurel thicket. I'm Julian. Grew up broke in these mountains, used to losing stuff, jobs, crops, sometimes people. Didn't expect the land to give anything back. Not until my mom started choking like she couldn't breathe. Doctors shrugged with fancy words. Idiopathic, progression, we'll manage symptoms. But I caught the look they didn't give her. Eyes that said it was getting worse. Climbing the porch steps left her gasping. Phone calls cut short by coughs. I grabbed every odd job. Hauling, fixing, night shifts. The bills ate everything. Lying awake, counting her coughs like some damn math problem. That's when Granddad's stories clicked. Root men. Not witches, not straight-up magic. Old folks who knew where roots touched the skin of the world. People went to them for luck, healing, revenge, paid in things that mattered. The mountain doesn't take cash. Thought it was metaphor. After the third hospital notice and second near blackout, metaphor felt thin. First sign was on the fence. Rotten rail, leaning posts, sagging wire. Walking back, I noticed a mark carved deep into the gray wood. Not initials, a circle, 3 lines dropping like roots. I'd seen it before. Granddad drew it in dirt, talking about root men. Second mark pointed down the slope into the trees. Somebody could have been screwing with me, but nobody nearby walked well enough. I stared, then went home, listened to Mom's labored breathing, and made up my mind. The path the mark suggested wasn't really a path. Thicket thinning, blackberry canes arched like warnings, roots lay flat. 15 minutes in, air shifted. Cool, damp, heavy like breath on glass. Trees opened into a ringed clearing. Laurel twisted up, branches forming a doorway. Roots of a giant oak spiraled, forming almost seats. Glass jars hung low, some empty, some cloudy, some holding stones or teeth. Little bones half buried in dirt, not animals small, not human big, something in between. "You're late," a voice said. At first I blamed wind through the jars, then shadow stirred. A man emerged, part tree, part dirt, moss draping his shoulders. Only skin, face. "You got your granddad's walk," he said. Heart pounded, screamed at me to leave, but Mom's lungs. I stayed. He watched like he knew I had options. "I need help," I said. Mom's life hung in my chest. "All uphill," he said. "Hospital, pills, prayers. You've done that road. Didn't change much, did it?" "No," I said. "The roots can shoulder some weight. They have, but nothing leaves empty-handed. You get it?" I thought about my life. No money, no property, nothing. My own years weren't bargaining chips. I would have tossed him gladly. "What do you want?" I asked. He smiled. Too even. "Someone is already marked. The mountain's been whispering their name, but it's impolite to take without invitation. You let the roots balance. Your mama breathes easier. That's the trade." I went dry. "You're asking me to choose who dies?" He shrugged. "Does anyone care up there who chokes on a vent? The mountain's older than maps. It knows its own, its strangers. It just needs a voice to say, 'Go on then.'"
Tourists, pipeline crews, strangers who scarred the hills flashed in my head. I didn't know their names. "The roots do," he said. "You don't have to point." Coward's choice, yeah. Say yes. Someone unknown slips, falls, dies. I'd never see them. But Mom, she could climb the porch steps again. I didn't say yes, didn't say no. He nodded, scooped earth from the oak roots, pressed it into my palm. Cold, pulsing once. Under her bed, headboard, 3 days. Don't ask who it takes. Ledger stays closed. I went home. 2 days later, a hiker from out of state slipped near Buckthorn Ridge, fell, found broken. News said tragedy, view beautiful, dangerous. Mom's cough eased. She could climb, talk, breathe easier. Scans puzzled doctors, unexpected stabilization. I kept the dirt secret. After 3 days, I dug it back out. River smooth stone. Sometimes, after a night shift, house quiet, I hear the floorboards whisper, roots shifting. Tell myself it's timber, pipes, then remember the hiker's obituary. He had a family, faces I'll never see. Photo posted, ridge faint in background. I haven't gone back to that clearing. Sometimes, running fingers over old fence posts, a few feel smooth, rubbed from inside. Maybe the roots know more than headstones. Maybe one name is mine, waiting for balance. Mountain takes what you can live without, until you can't. I lied to the police about Switchback Road, said dark, tired, misjudged. They wrote it down. The version that stalks me every night driving from the hospital? That's the truth. I'm Hannah, 8 years on night shift in a tiny Appalachian town where mountains start at the parking lot. Road twists up, 3 tight switchbacks, low guardrails, long drops. People warn about deer, ice, drunk drivers. Nobody warns about the lights. Tuesday, late November. Cold bites, breath smoke. 12-hour shift done. My body wants bed. Bridge of nose rubbed raw from exhaustion. Car started. First switchback fine. Guardrail, drop, town lights. Second turn, saw them. At first, deer eyes. 2 bright reflections, roadside ditch. Slowed. Eyes didn't move, didn't blink. Rolled closer, 30 miles an hour. 2 more, and 4, 6. Vertical lines climbing trees like someone pinned mirrors at head level. Did not move, did not blink. Felt them track me without turning. Fear freezes your lungs. Engine stuttered, dashboard flickered. Slammed gas, engine growled, steering thick.
Keep going, I whispered, eyes still on the roadside. Finally, curve past, straight stretch, radio crackled back mid-song, phone charged, engine smooth, chest loosened. Driveway reached. Told myself exhaustion made deer into demons. 2 days later, Carla missed her shift. Not her style. Phone dead. Car found on second switchback, nose against guardrail. Door open, no skid, no impact. Purse, phone, gone. Search dogs, volunteers, 3 days, nothing but broken twigs fading into the woods. Police asked. Choice, tell them the lights, radio death, feeling of being watched. Skepticism would plaster their faces. Or keep quiet. I stayed the sensible nurse, said nothing. One deputy from high school caught my eye, knowing. I held the lie steady. Weight didn't vanish. It just moved with me. My sister's voice didn't return as a ghostly echo. It came back wrong, jagged, like a signal crossed with static. The first night it happened, I was perched on the low stone wall separating our family graves from the tree line, running my thumb over the dates on her headstone. The sun had already drained its color behind the ridge, and that blue hour crawled down the slope in slow, greedy shadows. Crickets were droning. A dog barked somewhere far off. My mom's dishes clinked from the house above. All normal. Safe. Then I heard it. Her voice, sharp and close, cutting through the quiet like someone had planted her there in the woods. Maddie. That was her usual call. Nothing odd there. But then something came after it. A rush of breath, ragged and running, stretching the name across the trees. Maddie. Help. I froze, didn't move, didn't run, just twisted to look at the dark line of trunks. The town whispered explanations. Man, truck, bad choice. Low voices, looking at my parents like grief had already claimed us. The sheriff's report said, foul play suspected. The news mentioned the bloody shirt dumped by the old logging road, folded neat like laundry. But one thing never fit. The dogs never caught it. Every tracking hound came, circled, whined, and pulled toward the trees, like whatever took her had walked into the woods and vanished. We buried an empty casket a year later because that's what you do. Grief wants a shape, a place. Her headstone sits closest to the woods because she loved the trees. Mom said, I didn't argue. That's not why. We all knew if any part of her still existed, it was in those branches. And then, again, the hollow whispered her name, softer this time. If you've ever lost someone and then heard them where they could not be, you'll get this. There's a split second your brain insists it's wrong. Wind, distant kids, memory leaking into sound. Then, your heart betrays you. I slid off the stone wall, unaware I'd decided to move. My hand brushed her headstone as I stepped onto the grass, a tether of reality in a place that already felt unreal. The tree line was maybe 20 steps away. The ground dipped into our family hollow, folding in on itself before climbing toward the ridge. As kids, we'd built forts in this hollow, pretended the creek was a moat. Mom shouted from the porch to be back before blue dark, that specific shade where ridges still catch light, hollows already swallowed by night. That's what it was now. Under the trees, black crept faster than the ridge glowed. I didn't bring a flashlight, didn't think to. Where are you? I called. My voice, small, sounded like a kid again. Over here, came the voice. I fell. Right words, wrong rhythm. My sister always rushed through sentences, tripping over the ends. This voice hesitated, stretching syllables like it was tasting them. I stopped at a big oak, pressing my hand to its bark. Real, solid, anchoring me. "Say my middle name," I muttered, on impulse. She'd mock me with it when we were kids. Silence, then a low laugh. "You're dumb, Liz. Come on." That wasn't her. She'd have said my middle name right, laughed, shoved me, wrestled me into the living room floor. My hand stayed on the oak. Then I realized I couldn't hear the house anymore. No dishes, no TV, no dogs. Even the crickets stepped back. "I can't see you," I said. "Come closer." Branches shuffled deeper in the hollow. Not one person moving. Many. Something out of sight, brushing leaves. "Please," it said. "It hurts." The pain was right. Strained, desperate. "I'll get a flashlight," I heard myself promise, stepping back. My palm slipped from the oak, but I tried to remember the touch, the warmth, like someone on the other side of thick cloth. Turning away, the air shifted. Not colder, but heavy, like breaking the surface underwater. Normal sounds returned. Car on the highway. Dad laughing. Mom calling. I walked up the hill, slow, shaking flashlight in hand, heart still lodged in my throat. Inside, bills and coffee sat on the table. "You were by her stone again," Mom said, not a question. "Yeah," I muttered. My mind held its breath. If I spoke it, it became real. Dad's jaw tensed. "You're not going in those woods alone at night," he said. That should have been it, should have stopped me. But the next night, I returned with a flashlight, once they were asleep, creeping past the gravestones. The voice came quick. "Maddie, you're back." I flicked on the beam. Just trees, trunks, shadows. "Where?" I asked. "Down by the old logging road." I froze. That road was gone, washed out before my birth. Chunks of asphalt, moss-covered mile markers remained, remnants from childhood games. I felt sick thinking about walking alone. "Tell me what we buried with you," I demanded. Silence, long and deliberate.
"Flowers," it said. Truth. We had added another thing Dad snuck in. A small, lopsided ceramic frog, one she'd painted in second grade, tucked it in her coffin like a last joke. The thing in the hollow didn't know. "You're not her," I said, throat tight. A sigh drifted through the trees, from no one direction. "You want her? Enough." The flashlight caught a pale shape, wrong in every way. A person-shaped cutout in shadow. It stepped sideways. I didn't ask questions. Backed away to the wall, turned, fled for the house. That should have ended it, but it didn't. Weeks passed. The voice shifted. Bella, Isabella, stretching and chopping syllables. Used phrases my sister only ever said in her room, laughing on the phone, where that night I refused to sneak out with her. Things the hollow shouldn't know. Last time I responded, it was late November. Air brittle, leaves mostly down. I stood at the edge of the plot. "You're in the ground," I said. "That's wrong." "Where you left me, where they folded me up, where the dogs turned away," it said. It knew details Mom never spoke. Eyes watered. The creek gurgled. Owl called. Normal, safe sounds. "What do you want?" I asked. Silence pressed in. Then, "Come where I am. They brought me here. You can walk." Dry leaves shifted behind the tree line. Bare toes vanished. Skin pale like riverstone. I ran, bolted into the porch, locked the door. Mom woke. I lied, thought I saw a coyote.
She told me to stay inside at night. I promised. I have. 6 years now. I visit her stone in daylight, sometimes leave a frog from a yard sale tucked beneath her headstone. Foggy nights, I listen from my window. Calls, stretched and wrong. Now older phrases, old names only Grandpa said. Learning or bored. Waiting.
If anyone ever stands at the edge of those woods and hears the voice of someone lost, know this: people don't come back. Something else can, and it won't always get the words wrong. Grandpa said the roots know more names than headstones. He didn't laugh. I didn't get it until I needed help from the laurel thicket. I'm Julian, poor, Appalachian. The mountains take things, jobs, crops, sometimes people. What I wasn't ready for was what they offer back. Mom's lungs failed first. Idiopathic, progression, manage. I heard the truth in the doctor's tone. It's only going to get worse. I scrambled for any work, stacking bills, counting breaths, hoping for a miracle. Then I remembered Grandpa's stories, root men. Not witches, not exactly. People who knew where earth kissed the surface, where the old roots held memory. You paid in something that mattered. The mountain doesn't take cash. The first sign? A fence post, rotten, leaning. A mark carved deep. Circle with 3 lines hanging like roots. I knew that mark. Grandpa's rootmen. Signal for trade. Path pointed into undergrowth, thinning like someone cleared it just for me. Air shifted, cool, wet. Laurel branches arched like a doorway. The oak's roots twisted, forming seats. Glass jars hung in the branches, some cloudy, some clear. Bones littered the dirt, not animal small, not human big, something else. You're late, a voice said, shadowed beneath the oak. Wind or not. Then he stepped forward. Bark-colored coat, dirt-tone pants, moss clinging. Face human, lived in. You have your granddaddy's walk, he said, heavy, deliberate. I almost left, heart hammering, but he knew about Mom. I needed help. It's all uphill. Hospital, pills, prayers. You've done that road. Didn't change the ending, he said. I nodded. The roots can take weight. They have before. Nothing leaves empty. You understand? I did. I had nothing to trade. No cash, no land. My years, willing to toss them. What do you want? Someone's marked, he said. Someone upridge. The mountain whispers. You give roots leave to balance. Your mama breathes easier. That's the trade. I didn't say yes, didn't say no. He nodded, pressed cold earth into my palm. Under her bed, 3 days. Don't move it. Don't ask the ledger side. I went home, dirt burning in my hand. 2 days later, a hiker fell into a ravine off Buckthorn Ridge, found dead. Tragedy, said the news. Same week, Mom's cough eased. Unexpected stabilization, said the doctor. I didn't tell him about the dirt. Sometimes at night, after a shift, I swear I hear movement under the floorboards, creak-like, roots adjusting. I tell myself it's old timber, but I remember the hiker, and the truth, the roots know names, maybe mine.
The mountain doesn't take paper money, it takes what you can't live without until you realize you can't. I lied to police about Switchback Road, said I misjudged distance, tired, dark. Real version still watches me each night driving home. My name's Hannah, and that's where it begins. I used to run a little YouTube channel with 2 buddies doing stupid stunts in the middle of nowhere. Appalachian backwoods, abandoned mines, cemeteries no one cared about. Call it reckless, call it living. Me, Ryder, and Cole. Night vision cameras, spare batteries, the whole setup. We chased the kind of scares that made our clicks spike and our parents sigh. Then there was the cabin, off Crooked Branch Hollow, deep enough the GPS died on a whim, supposed to appear only if you got lost. People whispered legends about it. Wanderers stepping inside, waking up to trees where the door should have been. Perfect content. We planned it like always, pack light, follow the trail until it ended, then ignore the map completely. Worst case scenario, camp out and hike back at dawn with a story. The woods didn't feel right from the start. Compass spinning like it had given up, GPS hopping 50 feet at a time. We laughed at it, called it classic horror vibes, but my gut knew better. After a couple hours, everything repeated. Trees, fallen logs, the same crooked birch scarred by lightning, even the same 3 stones clustered on the ground. Cole joked, "We're in a circle." Then we stepped over a crushed beer can Ryder had picked up 20 minutes earlier. Exact same spot.
Then we saw the chimney. Jagged stone, darker than anything around. Pushing through undergrowth, the cabin revealed itself. Steep gray boards, crooked porch, no path, no clearing, like it grew from the hollow itself. Ryder whooped, "We actually found it!" Camera rolling, of course. Intro, wide shots, the usual theatrics. The boards were weathered but solid, windows intact, porch rail carved with odd symbols, X's, circles, headless stick figures. Ryder teased, hand on the latch, camera on his face. "Ready?" In our footage, the door swung open immediately. 1 frame, then jump cut, inside. But I remember pushing the door together, shoulder to shoulder. The cabin wasn't a tiny box. It stretched into a long, narrow hallway, doors on each side. The air smelled like wet earth and something chemical, sharp enough to sting. Downstairs, a set of stairs disappeared into darkness, treads worn as if countless feet had used them. Ryder laughed, filming. "Basement episode, let's go!" Cole followed. I paused, looking at jars lining a shelf, all the same size, rusty lids, pale, cloudy things floating, turning slowly toward the light. Didn't want to think what they were. Ryder's voice called from the basement, hollow, distant, wrong. I stepped forward. Then suddenly, I was outside, 10 feet from the cabin, boots on dead leaves, camera in hand, heart pounding. Ryder and Cole beside me, breathing hard. The sun had shifted. Shadows stretched long. 3 hours inside, maybe. Camera footage, 14 minutes. "Did we just lose time?" Cole asked quietly. Ryder ignored him, playing the escape for the audience. "Let's get the hell out of here." That's exactly what we did. Fast forward. We tried to shrug it off online. Clickbait, theories, laughs. But something inside me knew it wasn't a glitch, wasn't editing. The cabin wasn't just misaligned, warped, or old. It was impossible. And I'd seen it. Afterward, I started noticing patterns off Crooked Branch Hollow, like the first night I saw them on Switchback Road. Pairs of lights.
eyes lining the slopes, the curves, the trees. Not always every night, sometimes weeks between, but they moved closer. Last month, a single pair appeared at the hospital parking lot, high in the trees, gone when I blinked. Cold, familiar dread.
A single pair, then more, each night, calculated, watching, silent, like the cabin, like the hollow, like the roots Grandpa whispered about, the old Appalachian magic threading through earth and time. Sometimes I imagine saying their names aloud. I don't, because I know that's when the lights will turn fully toward me, all at once, watching, unblinking, waiting. So I drive, every night, radio dead, phone hidden, eyes on the road, not the shadows, not yet ready. Not ready to see all of them at once, to feel their gaze lock onto mine like the Hollow's voice did years ago. If you ever drive Switchback Road and your radio dies, here's the advice no one gave me. Don't slow down. Don't search the shadows. Just keep moving. Some things in these mountains don't chase. They don't need to. You end up where they want anyway. And maybe, someday, you'll understand why. The footage on my camera, from the second we laid hands on that rotten cabin door to the moment we stumbled outside, barely hit 14 minutes. "You just lose time?" Jake muttered. I didn't answer. Danny was already putting on the act for the camera, voice trembling just enough to sell fear.
"We're getting the hell out of here," he said, lens pointed right at him. Something screamed wrong in my gut. I whispered, "We're heading back to camp." We backed off, eyes never leaving the cabin, the kind of cautious retreat you'd give a dog that looks too eager. Between the trees, something moved, a shadow at the upper window, like someone shifted aside the second I tried to see. The hike out was a maze. Creeks we hadn't crossed, jagged rocks that weren't there before. Somehow, it all funneled us down toward the logging road. Compass started spitting straight north a half-mile from the truck. GPS caught the trail again. We laughed, joked about glitches in the matrix, covered trembling hands and cold sweat with bad humor. Later that night, back in my apartment, I loaded the footage. Every time anyone approached the cabin door, the video skipped, a jarring jerk forward, Danny reaching for the latch, then bam, all of us inside, me pointing the camera at the stairwell, then a smear, then outside again. No hallway, no basement, no jars. I called Jake, same gaps on his footage. Danny's was identical. "Maybe we lost it," Jake said. "Maybe there never was a basement. Just paranoia." But I could still see the stairs. He could still hear knocks from inside the walls. Danny went dark. A week later, his roommate found him in the bathroom. Pills spilled, music still droning in the living room. His note didn't mention the cabin, just the knocking, always 3 taps every night as he was drifting off. After the funeral, I tried to delete my footage. Couldn't. Progress bar stuck at 99%, then poof, gone. Check the folder, empty. Recycle bin, nothing. SD card, hammered it, dusted the shards off my hands. 2 months later, during a storm, the TV snapped on at 3 a.m. Black screen, then a frozen frame, 9 minutes, 3 seconds, time-stamped in the corner. Cabin window, top right, a reflection, maybe trees, maybe a face turned away. I yanked the plug. The image lingered 3 full seconds, then nothing. Channel dead, videos gone. Fans still ask why we disappeared mid-season. I let them spin their own tales. The version I never post, that's the real one. The lesson? Not all empty places are empty. Some things warp your memories, twist your footage to fit their shape. Whatever haunted that cabin let us leave with enough fear to survive, but took enough so proof never existed. Sometimes, when a storm hits, I feel that cabin creeping closer, the woods leaning toward town. Here's a test if you ever find yourself out in a hollow. Drop a pin on your place in a map app, screenshot it. 6 months later, check the pin. Does it still sit where your front door feels like it is? Last I looked, my cabin wasn't on the map. After my marriage imploded, I wanted 3 things: quiet, distance, and cheap rent. A guy at the hospital mentioned a cousin's cabin, way past the old strip mine. 1 bedroom, end of a rutted lane, trees all around, nothing else. Perfect if you like being alone, he said. You'll hear your own heartbeat out there. Heaven, right there. First night, no cars, no stomping upstairs neighbors, no ex-wife sneaking through the walls, just rain hammering the metal roof and the occasional owl hoot. I unpacked slowly, set up my laptop on the tiny kitchen table, and told myself this was where I'd patch the pieces together. The cabin itself? Basic. 1 big room, stove and sink on one end, couch and wood stove the other, tiny bedroom, bathroom that smelled iffy. A day of windows and scrubbing cleaned most of it. The woods sold it. Thick oaks, poplar laurel, moss-covered rocks, a faint trail led downhill to a creek. On day 2, I followed it an hour, came back, passed out on the couch with the door open, curtains moving like slow breaths. First weird thing? Minor. I hung my keys by the door, showered, came back, keys were on the table. Misremembering, I thought. A week later, coffee mug moved itself. I told my reflection in the bathroom mirror, "You're losing it, man." I slept. Cabin didn't. 3 weeks in, footsteps on the porch. Not boots, just bare feet, light and quick, pacing end to end. Every time I got up, silence, cold air, empty boards. One night, 2 a.m., pacing stopped right outside. A soft chuckle, like someone amused themselves. I didn't open the door, sat on the couch with every light blazing until dawn. Told myself, raccoons, foxes, anything but someone listening at the wood. The cabin, it started helping. Think about coffee? Kettles on the burner. Reach for a book? Already on the couch arm. Back from the store? Groceries in arms? Chair already angled to the window I like. First I laughed. Routine, muscle memory, long shifts, stress. Then it started predicting things I hadn't even done. Rainy Saturday, bored, I imagined turning the couch to face the stove. Didn't move, fell asleep. Woke up, couch rotated, coffee table shifted, books lined up along the wall. Drag marks on the floor, scuff on the rug, like something nudged it all into place. Door locked, windows latched, no prints. Felt like waking in someone else's house. I should have left, called a friend, begged to crash his couch. Instead, I laughed too loud. "Okay, haunted house," I said. "You're quirky." Talking to it made it bolder. "Should go for a walk," I muttered. 10 minutes later, fresh path leading left, grass bent, leaves disturbed. Followed it, hidden pool, fern hollow, secret view. Never saw anyone, no signs, no prints, only my return. The footsteps changed, no more pacing. They started circling the cabin at night, tap-tap on one wall, then the next, back around. Always the same rhythm. 4 sides, 2 taps per wall. Slow, relentless. One night, after a brutal shift at the hospital, I came home furious. Hours cut, ex sending venom in texts, brain still screaming. As I unlocked the door, I thought, not said, I wish I didn't have to go back out there. Wish I could just stay here. The cabin answered. My own voice, soft, delayed, echoing from the corner by the wood stove. You can. It was me, down to the lazy drawl I hate hearing on recordings. Shadowy corner, chair outline, but no shape beyond it. Every hair on my arms shot up. The timing was off, half a second too late. I didn't respond, slid to the bedroom, closed the door, sat on the bed edge until my heartbeat slowed. Through the wall, the soft scrape of wood on wood, like a chair being turned to face me. After that, I tried to convince myself it was all mental. First, the map. I pinned my cabin in the app, screenshot right at the lane's end. 2 months later, after endless nights of tapping that never quit, the satellite view still showed trees, faint roof outline. I dropped the pin where I knew the cabin sat. It snapped back to the old trailer lot near the road. No matter how I tried, the app refused. Then the mail. Bills came addressed to a route number, no street. Packages delayed, lost, returned. Power company called. Meter flagged inactive. Directions? Our map doesn't show anything past the cul-de-sac, sir, said the operator. There was no cul-de-sac, just the lane, and beyond it, my cabin. The last night there, silence, total. No tapping, no footsteps, no wind. That heavy silence, like the world's about to crash down. Bedroom door cracked open, main room dim, coals glowing in the stove. Chair by the window perfectly aligned to face my bedroom, as if someone had been sitting there watching. Then, my voice, soft, gentle, almost coaxing. Stay, you don't have to go back. I didn't argue, didn't obey, grabbed the half-unpacked duffel and walked out. Lights on, door unlocked, didn't look back. The woods felt tighter, closer, trees brushing the porch. At the lane's end, gravel meeting asphalt, I stopped, looked back. Thick black wall of trees, no roof, no glass glint. For a fleeting, insane second, I thought if I went back, it would vanish, just a patch of dirt where a foundation had been. Photos on my phone, blurred, smeared, like reality had been dragged across the lens. I didn't check. Drove off. In town, everything worked again. Address recognized, mail delivered, maps normal. In my new apartment, neighbors above and below, footsteps still echo sometimes. Normal, human, annoying. Occasionally, someone mentions that hollow, that cabin years ago. Burned down, condemned, never passed inspection. Stories shift depending on the teller. I say nothing. If a place ever seems to lean on you too hard, anticipates you before you act, makes staying easy, leaving hard, check the map, drop a pin. If it refuses to sit where your door really is, understand, you're not a visitor, you're inventory. I was 8 the first time I saw a man vanish into a wall that didn't exist. Back then, the new multiplex off the highway was the crown jewel of our little Appalachian town. 8 screens, neon glow, buttery popcorn, cold AC. My mother called it city in a box. For me, magic. 10-foot-tall cartoons, soda bigger than my head, bathrooms tucked down a corridor past posters and arcade machines. Saturdays, the hallways flooded with kids, parents, bored teens. Mom didn't like crowds. "You know the way, Eli," she said. "I'll be right here." That day, line at the women's restroom wrapped around. She waved me to the men's, empty except for one stall and a man at the sink. First thing off, the vibe. Not scary, just wrong. Brown coat, flat cap, neat hair, polished shoes. Looked like someone's uncle, but he didn't move right. Hands under running water, frozen, spread fingers, staring at the mirror, mouth slightly open, mid-word. I did what any kid trying to prove bravery does, moved past, eyes on tiles, acted like I didn't see. He didn't shift, didn't turn off tap. Ice-cold water pouring silently. My faucet gushed. I could feel it from across the counter. Hairs prickled. I dried my hands, edged toward the door. Then he spoke. "Do you know where Theater 9 is?" Voice like it came from the bottom of a well, slow, thick, syllables stretched. I froze, hand on the push bar. "Down the hall, right side," I said, pointing. His eyes stayed on the mirror. They moved in the mirror. He murmured, "It used to be different." 8 years old, Theater 9 might as well have been Mars. I muttered, "Mom's waiting," and bolted. Outside, hallway crowded, buzzing fluorescent lights, popcorn smell, normal chaos. Heart still pounding. Told myself, just a weird guy in the bathroom, nothing more. Mom would have scolded if she knew. I didn't tell anyone. Years went by. I kept going to that theater, avoided that bathroom when I could. When I couldn't, rushed in, eyes down. By high school, the multiplex was tarnished, stains in the carpet, flickering neon. Everyone whispered about the shiny new theater in the next town with reclining seats. Our old place, cheap, worn, ghosted by memory. Home from college one night, I eavesdropped on my dad and uncle. Small town changes, factories closing, kids leaving, Main Street dying. Uncle said, "Remember when that theater opened? People treated it like the second coming." The footage from the moment we first touched the cabin door to when we stumbled back into the trees ran 14 minutes, give or take. "Did you just lose time?" Eli whispered, voice tight.
Mac didn't answer. He slid into camera mode like it was armor, voice shaking just enough to make it seem authentic. "We're getting out, now," he said, eyes glued to the lens. Something felt off. Every step away from that cabin tightened the knot in my gut. We backed off without turning our backs, like you do with a dog that's eyeing you wrong. Trees thickened, shadows stretching long, and I caught a flicker at the top window, someone or something moving just as I tried to get a look. The hike out was a nightmare. Rocks, creeks, trails that weren't there when we came in, but they all funneled us downhill, eventually to the logging road. Compass flickered back to life a half-mile from the truck. GPS locked onto the trail again. We joked about glitches in the matrix. The jokes sounded stupid even as we laughed. Back at my place that night, I dumped the footage onto my laptop. Every time someone stepped toward the door, the video skipped. Little jumps forward. Mac reaching for the latch, then all of us inside. Me aiming my camera at the stairs. Then a smear of motion, and suddenly outside again. No hallway, no basement, no jars. Called Eli, same thing. Mac's files, identical. Maybe we just freaked ourselves out. Maybe there was no basement. Maybe we were imagining the stairs, the knocks inside the walls. Mac went dark after that. No replies. A week later, his roommate found him. Pills scattered on the tile, music still playing in the living room. Note didn't mention the cabin. It did mention insomnia. Something under the floor, knocking. Always 3 times, always right as sleep started to creep in. I tried to delete the footage. SD card, hard drive, recycle bin, nothing worked. One night, during a thunderstorm, my TV flipped on at 3 a.m. Black screen. Then a frozen frame, 9 minutes, 3 seconds. Upper right corner of the cabin window. A reflection. Trees. Maybe a face turned away. I yanked the plug. The image lingered for 3 seconds. Then gone. Channel dead. No more uploads. No more Deep Woods challenges.
What I learned? Not every empty place is truly empty. Not everything wants to be recorded. Some things bend memory, bend footage, bend reality itself. We walked out with enough fear to survive, but not enough proof to tell anyone. And when storms roll and lights flicker, sometimes I feel that cabin closer, woods shifting, bending toward town. If your screen ever freezes on a window you don't remember filming, don't hit play. Here's a test if you move into a hollow in these mountains. Drop a pin on your house in a map app, screenshot it, check 6 months later. Does the pin match your front door? Last I checked, my cabin wasn't on any map anymore. After my marriage imploded, I wanted 3 things: quiet, distance, cheap rent. A hospital guy mentioned a cousin's cabin past the old strip mine. 1 bedroom, off the beaten path, nothing around. You'll hear your own heartbeat, he said. Heaven. First night, no traffic, no stomping neighbors, no ex's voice bleeding through. Just rain on the roof, low owl calls. Cabin wasn't much. 1 big room, stove and sink on one side, couch and wood stove on the other, tiny bedroom, weird bathroom plumbing. Smell of closed-up years. Day of airing and scrubbing handled most of it. Woods sold it. Oaks, poplars, mossy rocks, faint trail to the creek. Second day, I wandered an hour, back, and fell asleep on the couch. Breeze moving curtains like lungs breathing. Strange at first. Keys on a nail, shower, keys on the table. Misremembered? Maybe. Week later, coffee mug moved while I wasn't looking. Told my reflection, you're losing it. Slept. Cabin didn't. 3 weeks in, footsteps on the porch at night. Bare, quick, pacing. Every time I got up, sounds stopped. Open door, nothing. Cold air, trees. One night,
Pacing stopped right outside. Soft chuckle, breathy. Didn't open door. Sat on couch, lights on, waited for dawn. Told myself it was wildlife, anything but someone listening at the wood.
Cabin started anticipating me. Thought about making coffee. Kettle on the burner, lid off. Reached for a book, it was on the couch. Came home with groceries, chair already angled toward the window. At first, I liked it. Muscle memory, routine, stress. Then, it got ahead of me. Thought about rearranging furniture, woke up, it had moved. Coffee table, books, everything realigned. Drag marks, scuffs, door locked, windows latched, no sign of another person. Felt like someone else lived there. Should have left. Laughed too hard instead. Okay, haunted house, I said. I get it, you're quirky. Talking made it worse. Thought I should go for a walk. 10 minutes later, faint path led somewhere new. Hidden pools, hollows, secret views. Never saw anyone. Only my prints. Night, footsteps changed. Circling. Tap tap on 4 walls. 2 taps each. Slow orbit. Long bad workday. Unlocked door. Thought, I wish I didn't have to leave. Cabin answered, you can. My voice. Corner near the stove. Shadow. Chair outline. Hair on arms up. Half-second delay. Wrong timing. Didn't respond. Bedroom. Door closed. Heartbeat slowed. Wood scraping, like chair turning toward me. I tried proving it was mental. Map, pinned cabin, screenshot. 2 months later, satellite showed trees, faint roof. Dropped pin where I knew it, snapped to old trailer lot. Mail changed, route and box only. Power company flagged inactive. Directions, no cul-de-sac. No cul-de-sac, just lane and cabin. Last night there, silence. Bedroom door cracked. Main room dim. Chair perfectly aligned with doorway. My voice, stay, don't go back. Grabbed duffel, walked out. Didn't lock, didn't look back. Woods leaned in. Lane ended. Black wall of trees. Cabin gone. Photos? Probably smeared if I checked. Drove off. Town. Address works. Mail works. Maps normal. Apartment. Human footsteps only. Sometimes old hollow mentioned. Stories change. I don't correct anyone. Places that anticipate you? Drop a pin. If it won't sit, understand your inventory, not a visitor. Dad snorted, leaning back. They built that thing on a mistake. How? I asked. Any excuse to dodge the complaints rolling off them like knives. They botched the blueprints, he said. Half the hallway was never supposed to exist. Extra screens, more bathrooms, storage. Started framing, then bam, the ground was crap. Coal seam under it or something. Had to tear it all out, seal it up. Money down the drain.
Uncle nodded. City inspectors said the dig shouldn't have happened, like the mountain itself didn't want a door there. Where? I asked, already feeling the skin on my neck crawl. Behind the arcade, Dad said. Long hall. Bricked over. If you look close, you can still see the floor doesn't line up, he added. Later that week, I went back with a couple of friends. Horror flick, more habit than want. While they grabbed snacks, I walked down that corridor alone. Narrower than I remembered. Men's room door in the same place, scuffed metal plate at the bottom. Across, wall with poster frames. Long, faint seam, painted over, but visible if you looked for it, a healed scar. I laid my hand flat, hollow, wrong for solid, tingling fingers. Bathroom door creaked, brown coat, flat cap, head down, slow shuffle. Heart stalled half a beat. Then he turned, face clear and hallway light. Different guy, same clothes. Coincidence, I told myself. He passed, smell of popcorn and cheap aftershave trailing. Stopped where seam hit side wall, reached out, hand met plaster. Confused. Used to be different, he muttered. Almost same words as the man in my memory. Didn't answer, shook head, blinked like waking up, walked to lobby. That night, dream swallowed me whole. Bathroom as it should have been, second corridor stretching past. People faded through old glass, families, kids, couples holding hands. End of hall, door marked Theater 9, same number, older font, light flickering like projector glow. Something beyond, low hum, hungry. Reached for the handle, pressure from the other side, frame swelled, groaning wood. Breath, old coal and cold water, 1,000 trapped exhalations. Woke with hand stretched out, gripping air. I avoid that theater now. Life took me elsewhere, bigger towns, new screens. But when home, I glance at the back, hill sloping, the hump where they tore it out, ground unstable, old tunnels beneath. Dig there, earth caves in. I wonder if a corridor still lingers under that dirt. Door marked Theater 9, old font, bathroom with man, hands under silent water, waiting. And the mountain? What was it keeping in or out? If you find a building with a hollow wall, wonky floor plan, mirror too still, remember, not every door stays open, not every place gone on paper is gone in truth. A hallway may still exist just inches away, people walking toward a movie that never ends. I was 8 when I first saw a man vanish into a wall that shouldn't exist. New multiplex off the highway, pride of town, 8 screens, neon, butter sugar air, AC blasting. Mom called it a city in a box. To me, magic, 10-foot cartoons, sodas bigger than my head. Bathrooms down long corridor, past posters, arcade machines. Saturday afternoons, river of kids, parents, teens. Mom hated crowds, sent me ahead. You know the way, Eli. Line at women's restroom wrapped halfway. Mom smiled, waved me toward men's. Empty, except one stall, man at the sink. Felt off, not scary. Brown coat, flat cap, neat hair, polished shoes. But his movement? Wrong. Hands under running water, not washing. Fingers spread, staring at reflection, mouth open, mid-word. I pretended not to notice, went to urinal, stared at tiles. Finished, went to far sink. Water warm on mine, ice cold on his. No sound from his stream. Hairs rose. Turned to leave. Hello? I called, small voice bouncing off tile. Stall creaked, empty, no feet, no shoes, no shadow. Back in hallway, normal crowd, buzzing fluorescence. I told myself it was just a weird man. Mom would have scolded me for talking to a stranger. I swallowed the fear, kept it tucked away. Years passed, avoided that bathroom. New multiplexes, recliners, old theater faded, carpets stained, neon flickering.
One night, home from college, kitchen, eavesdropping on Dad and Uncle. Town change talk, factories closed, kids leaving, Main Street dying. Uncle said, "Remember opening day? Folks acted like it was the second coming." I felt the old chill, that same wrongness creeping back. The first time I noticed the stairwell, I thought I was just tired. I was working nights at a county hospital tucked into the hills, the kind of place where the paint never quite dries and the lights hum like insects. Graveyard shift messes with your head. Everyone knows that. You start seeing shadows where there aren't any, hearing things in the ducts. That's what I told myself. The stairwell sat between radiology and an old supply room nobody used anymore. I'd walked past that spot 100 times without thinking about it. Then one night, pushing a cart of linens, I glanced left and saw a door standing open where there had never been one before. Gray metal, no window, just a narrow stairwell dropping straight down. Hospitals have basements, boiler rooms, storage levels, so it shouldn't have freaked me out, but something about it felt off. The stairs were concrete, uneven, like they'd been poured by hand. The walls leaned inward, tight enough to make my shoulders itch just looking at them. A sign hung crooked on the inside of the door. Level B2. We only had one basement. I shut the door and told myself facilities must have reopened an old access. End of story. The next night, it was gone. No door, no frame, just cinder block wall, scuffed and painted the same sick green as the rest of the corridor. I ran my fingers over it, feeling stupid, solid, cold. I laughed once, too loud, and went back to work. That's when the calls started. Patients on the 3rd floor buzzing for transport, asking why someone was walking past their rooms at night. Orderlies complaining about footsteps echoing up through the floors after midnight. One nurse swore she heard a gurney rolling beneath her station, slow and steady, even though there was nothing below but concrete. Then I saw the stairwell again. Same place, same door, open wider this time. I stood there a long moment, cart rattling behind me, heart thudding like I just sprinted. The air coming from below smelled wrong. Not rot, not mold, something colder, old water and metal and breath. I radioed security. "Hey," I said, trying to sound casual. "Did facilities open a new stairwell by radiology?" Static crackled. "That stairwell again?" the guard asked. My stomach dropped. "What do you mean, again?" Long pause. Just, "Don't go down there." That was it. No explanation. I should have listened. A week later, the door stayed open all shift. Lights flickered down the stairwell, but they didn't line up right. Too far apart, like something had stretched the space between them. I'd pass by and swear I saw movement on the steps, shadows sliding downward, never coming up. Then came the knocking. 3 slow hits from inside the wall. always at 2:17 a.m. The first night I thought it was plumbing. The second I knew better. The third I pressed my ear to the cinder block and felt the vibration travel through my skull. Something was on the other side, knocking back. I asked an older nurse about it during break. She stared into her coffee too long before answering. The hospital was built over an old sanatorium, burned down in the 40s. Folks said there were lower levels they never finished clearing out. Lower than the basement?
She nodded once. People used to disappear during construction, falls, collapses, officially. The stairwell door showed up on my badge camera a few nights later. Security pulled me into the office, replaying the footage frame by frame. The door was there when I passed it, gone when I came back. In one clip, you could hear footsteps behind me that didn't match mine. "You ever go down?" the supervisor asked. I shook my head. I lied.